Hey everyone, this is Twist Game, where you get to play board games with us. Hi, I'm Josh from Twist Gaming, and I'm here with a very special guest, Adam from Kingdom Death Monster.
Hey, Josh, again.
Again, yeah. So we were just talking about briefly how the con was going, how you're gonna here all week.
Yep.
And you finally leave tomorrow. I know the crew's breaking down the booth right now. While
They
you
are.
took a few moments to come over here.
Yeah, I
and talk
just
with
took a
us.
stroll.
Yeah.
Figured I'd come hang out for a little while.
Awesome.
Let them do all the hard work.
So,
It's pretty cool.
But the con's been good for you.
It's a good con.
Got to see all your fans
Yeah.
and stuff and talk with everyone. I know that's a big thing you like to do every year.
Yeah,
So-
it's nice to hang out with everybody.
And I know we have a few new
A lot of
cool,
familiar faces.
yeah, a few cool new things that came out. So what came out at this con?
So we had.
I have
Like,
I have all
what do you have here?
I have all the new stuff that was game content.
Okay.
So
So are we gonna talk just about the game content stuff or the other two releases too?
you can talk about the other two releases too.
Okay,
just
I
don't
guess
have
I'll
them with
start with what's not here,
Yeah.
which was the Photo Resin Sci-Fi Urza.
Yeah.
And also the Novice, which marks kind of a milestone for us because
Yeah.
that's the first model that we cast ourselves.
That's really awesome
in
that you
New
did
York.
that in house. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, going forward, is all the new resins going to be from in house, or
No.
is still coming from?
We're still very much novices.
Yes.
That was an accident. It was
Yeah.
not. It was kind of a coincidence. It wasn't like let's do the novice first. It just happened to be what was ready.
Yeah.
So
That's-
it's a strange moment when Leah and Zach, who are the mold makers and casters that we have, who could not make it to this convention, brought me. I collect all the number 13s, and they gave it to me. I was
Okay.
looking at it, and I was like, "Oh man, we're doing the novice as our first." How about that?
That's very cool.
Yeah, and it felt really good, you know. But the person, our partner that we normally work with in France, he is not retiring until the end of the year.
Okay.
So
You still got a few more months to work
yeah.
with them.
And
and
plus
get
we're
everything
we're also like we try to stay as far ahead of the resin releases as possible.
ready. Yeah. Awesome. So what else did we have that came out?
We have the new version of the Sword Hunter. I say new because we completely resculpted her.
Okay.
When we got when we scanned her original sculpture, which was done by Yannick Hennebo, which is lovely. Kieran, the guy who I gave it to
Yeah.
do the scan clamps, was like, "Do you mind if I just kind of like go with it?"
Yeah.
And I was like, "Sure." He's like, "I just want to see if I can make it feel more like the artwork." I was like, "Sure, Kieran, go for it." And he like, just in my opinion, knocked it out of the park. It feels so cool on the table.
Looks really cool too.
Yeah.
And then this comes with. So tell me about the Sword Hunter. Like I see it's a
Sword
white
Hunter is a
speaker.
white speaker.
Yeah.
So they're a type of white speakers that specifically look for the blood on old weapons.
Okay.
So, and by ingesting a little bit of this blood, they gain insight into the battles that these things have seen.
Okay.
So,
I kind of read what the cards was, so that I see that thematic in there.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
really,
yeah.
really cool.
and the one thing I wanted to stay away from visually was like your typical kind of like fancy witch character, like licking a bloody knife. I was like, okay, so I know I'm exploring a trope here, but how do we make it a little bit different? And that's
Yeah.
why on the Summon event card, you can see she is licking not the bladed part of the sword, but
Yeah.
the handle.
It doesn't look all sexy like the witch ones do.
No. So it could be, blood from a battle that was splashed there, or even a little bit of the blood and sweat of the person who made the weapon.
Yeah. Very cool. All right, and then we also have the
Ringtail Vixen.
Rick Blixen, which
Yeah.
was a resin release, right?
Yep.
So, right there. I can open up the box. I think I'll take a look at it.
And the Ringtail Vixen, drawn by Lockman,
Yep.
who was here signing, was super cool. Came all the way from Hong Kong. Was sculpted by Blair, and she was the person who sculpted the pinup alpha male too. So the style of it is a little bit different than our typical sculpting team is, but I think I really liked it. So
Awesome. And then I saw this game with a new game content. It
Yeah.
comes with a bookmark
bookmark.
instead of a sticker.
Yep. Well, stickers are permanent. A bookmark is not, right?
So-
So the idea was to kind of, explore. Like we have story events, right? So we can have a bookmark.
So that's very cool. And
Yeah.
then we have a new Echoes of Death
Yep.
too, which comes with the new strains.
Yep.
and
And
everything.
sort of a slight update on the strain system.
From what I saw, was basically you can have 5 fighting arts from the strains in the
Yeah.
deck. So
Just trying to keep it
Doesn't
so
keep it
like your
bloated.
deck doesn't bloat with powerful strain fighting arts.
yeah, that looked very cool. And I was looking at one of the fighting arts, looked very Captain America,
Yeah.
Shield Bashy.
Yep.
which
The
was really
the
cool.
name, the final name of it is an accident. It was one of the joke suggestions that made it to print. So it is what it is now. The person who came up with it is very, very happy.
I'm sure they are.
He snuck it past us.
And then the last one, the really cool one, is the Vignette of Death.
Yes, the
The-
vignette.
Yeah. How did this come around?
I was looking for something for the sculptors to work on because they were getting a little too far ahead of me, and I wanted to focus back on
Okay.
dev. This happens fairly often. So my favorite piece of white line artwork is the Cunning illustration.
Yeah.
And I was like, let's sculpt this. That's awesome. I don't know what we're going to use it for, but let's do it.
Let's
and
make
so they put it together and, went back and forth. And we had it sculpted to scale. And just for fun, we also printed. We had one printed to scale, and for fun, we had printed on a 100mm base.
Yeah.
And everyone in the office, like, it was just one of those moments where everyone gathered, just
Yeah.
like, wow, that looks so cool. Because everyone knows the white line.
Yeah.
And so everyone loved the larger version more, so we decided that that was going to be its final incarnation, and we wanted something to bring to Gen Con that we thought people could get excited about.
Yeah.
Because at that point in time when we started working on it in January, I wasn't sure where we're going to be as far as Wave 3 went,
Yeah.
but I want to make sure that we had something,
Yeah,
something for everybody. So we started to put together this idea of this kind of smaller piece of content that you can unlock and add to your campaign
Yeah.
currently.
That's very cool. And I saw from the update we maybe have a screaming antelope, a nuclear screaming antelope.
Yeah,
possibly.
maybe a Nukalov.
Nucleope.
But like the biggest thing that's changed internally as far as how we develop has been giving us more tools
Yeah.
to develop, or more tools to tell. It's not quite telling stories, because although we do tell stories, what we really do is set up the world so that the players and the fans can have their own stories,
Yeah.
right? So we wanted more tools and more ways to add smaller, meaningful content to the game world as a whole.
Yeah.
And as the Strange system was being developed, I saw potentially working on the vignette as being like a way for us to explore that
Yeah.
kind of ahead of the rest of the development, or at least at that point in time I was thinking, well, if we work on this now, it might help us tie some loose ends up.
Yeah.
And then as the year progressed, it was more like, I'm gonna delay things. But
You delayed the first Kickstarter and it came out great, so I have faith in that.
yeah, it
What we'll
wasn't
get is going to be amazing.
it
and-
wasn't intentional, and I definitely feel a lot of guilt about it because I know everyone's excited.
Yeah.
And I know that it also means that I'm taking the expectations that were this.
Yeah.
It's not doubling it. It's doing this to it.
Yeah.
It's just like, okay. Just keep stacking the expectations. That's okay. No problem. I got this.
So that's everything that came out at Gen Con.
Yep.
We also had a new T-shirt, which I didn't.
Dumb Beetle.
I didn't manage to get one at my size.
I'm sorry.
So
We actually had that done down the block from us. A print screening place opened up,
Oh, awesome.
like 2 doors down.
That's
So
really cool.
we're gonna get another big run for the post Gen
The
Con
web
sale.
store. Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah. So I've got a question for you guys
Yeah.
real quick. Like, on the first day, everyone runs around what's asking for Gen Con exclusives, right?
Yeah.
And like, what is appropriate to say really? Because now the expectation is you sell things at Gen Con, but you always have a post Gen Con sale.
Yeah.
So is it really a Gen Con exclusive? Like, it's not. Like, it's not
Yeah.
realistically, right? But when you tell someone in person, this is like this is not the sci-fi model here, but we say, yeah, this is the Gen Con exclusive, and they go, oh well, I can't pick it up now. Will I be able to buy it in your post Gen Con sale? And you go, yeah. I guess, right?
Sometimes there's a sale, so it's a little bit cheaper if they get it in person. But
Yeah.
that's
It's just sort of I feel like it's become standardized that yes, a Gen Con exclusive is available at Gen Con, and then it's also available in your Gen Con specific sale that only happens once for the people who didn't have the chance to make it. you know?
and it's afterwards, and it's all the leftover stock. So if we sold out at Gen Con, it's not going to be everywhere else.
Yeah, it's just like you're constantly adjusting the way you work and the way you communicate to meet towards people's expectations.
Yeah. Awesome. All right, so let's talk a little bit about Wave 3.
Okay.
Most things I'm excited about is all the new campaigns.
Just so you know,
Yeah.
like Josh, I'm not scared of your questions. Matt, I'm not scared of your questions. Like community and fans, thank you. I'm not scared of any questions. Like it's okay.
No, I'm really excited for more campaigns. Since we stream and everything, it's always right now we're doing Seven Swordsmen.
Yeah, cool.
Which is tough and
yeah. We have to make the strain system so that you guys don't just burn through all that content in the first like, 3 months.
Well, luckily
like,
for
we've
us,
unlocked everything.
It takes us a while.
Yeah.
So we do 1 year a week. So 5-year campaign would take us a little.
That's
over
a good
month.
healthy pace.
So it's a slow pace. So we don't rush through it anymore.
It's not slow. It's a healthy pace.
So we've been doing all these different content. So I'm really excited to hear about the new campaign. So I know we had I have my list here. So I just kind of want to get a little bit more detail, see what you can tell me more about these new campaigns. So I know we had the what's the new one in the Gambler's Chest?
It's just called now. It's the Gambler's Chest expansion.
Yeah, but what's the new campaign that's included?
Currently, it's called People of the Dreamkeeper.
Okay, People of Dreamkeeper, and what do you have planned for that? I know things could change and things like that.
This all started with we were working on the Gambler, and we're like, okay, so we kind of alluded that it'd probably be a nemesis monster of sorts, and I just. You do that thing where you like pace the room and hold your chin like a detective for a long time, and you're like, I can't see this thing just rolling into a settlement.
Yeah.
Like, here I am, guys. And just start like,
here I am. Just try to kill me if you can.
Doesn't really make sense. So I started to think about what would make sense. Like, what would make sense to me versus what would make sense to someone else. But that's okay. What would make sense to me as the lead creator here on how the Gambler could fit in, and I got kind of a really chilling visual of the starting survivors pressing through this like dense patch of atmosphere where the lanterns weren't quite refracting correctly, and seeing this like very serene scene of the Gambler holding this like massive ball of sleeping people. And I was thinking, well, if they're sleeping, they're probably just like it's like 200 plus people snoring. Right?
Okay.
And it's just like there's something strange, at least to me, like when you're awake in a house full of a whole bunch of people snoring. Like if you're tired too, it's like annoying, but there's like a strange comfort to it.
The white noise of it kind of thing?
Yeah, like the white noise and also the security of it. Like, okay, well, I'm sleeping amidst all these snoring grizzly bears. Like, I feel a little safer right now. It's kind of like, I guess, an old like family thing.
Yeah.
So I thought that it would be very like safe feeling, comfortable, and then like within the Gambler's robes, in my imagination here, I saw them being like way bigger than they are in the miniature.
Okay.
And there's like probably the other survivors that you meet at the beginning of this are like in its robes, like you've seen those little blankets and tucked under it and stuff. And then like all of a sudden it started to again make sense to me. It's like this has gotten to that place where it's not a place I've explored before. It's like it's getting a little bit weird now. It's starting to excite me.
Awesome. So is it all these new campaigns are going to kind of be like the Dragon and the Sun King, Sunstalker? Wow. Where they have
Sun King.
Yeah, Sun King. Soccer. It's been a long week.
Yeah.
Where your survivors are going to be built differently. You're going to have new survivor sheets and all that kind of stuff, or is it kind of just more like timeline changes and?
So the Gambler will become your core monster.
Yeah.
It's not the Watcher.
Okay.
And similarly, they'll be different, but instead of being, People of the Stars or People of the Sun, they're People of the Dreamkeeper, and they're cognitively advanced.
Okay.
So they have access to philosophies.
Okay, so that's how the advanced rules are going to kind of come in a little bit, is in that campaign.
Yeah.
But are those so the advanced rules still going to be available for the other campaigns, or is it more for just
as I continue developing it, I'm going to thematically explore that. Like, now that there's like reasons for this stuff, instead of it just being like, these are advanced survivors. No, okay, the end, whatever. It needs to kind of also link thematically and appropriately to where these particular types of survivors like wake up and where they go.
Okay. So the advanced rules are kind of tied into this campaign for right now, and as it evolves, as you develop it, it's going to.
There's nothing really saying that the survivors could end up like not finding the Gambler. Like, what if they find a Watcher? What if they find a Dragon King? But I need to kind of think about what that means as far as the story that's been evolving, and how that would need to be applied to, how that would need to be addressed appropriately, instead of it just being like, we're starting a new campaign. Should I pick regular survivors or advanced survivors? Yeah. It's much more thematic.
Okay, that's very cool. What else is in? Crimson Croc is in the Gambler's Chest, who looks really, really cool.
Awesome. I'm glad to hear that.
we've all been saying he has a little bit of a Disney vibe to all of us. He kind of looks like TikTok, and I think the eels from Little Mermaid, just kind of mushed up and then horrified. He just kind of has that little goofy face of a TikTok, I think, and he's really fun looking.
So the like introduction kawaii monsters like have to be relatable in some way, otherwise it just doesn't quite land. Like all the Gorm and the White Lion both have a tremendous amount of like humor baked into them. Yeah, and like they're both like creatures like that. The Gorm is a little bit harder to identify with than the White Lion that behaves like a house cat most of the time. But it's important that it's like for us it starts as grounded as possible.
Okay. And then we also have Atnas.
Yep.
Who's really cool. And then I saw something in there. He's from the solar. What is it? The Solar Diamond Age? Mm-hmm. What is the Solar Diamond Age?
I don't know yet.
You don't know yet?
No, it just felt right.
It just felt right. Okay, so that's unexplored area right now.
It completely is. Like we with time, when the Phoenix we experiment with, and we show that time can be all over the place. But in Kingdom Death in general, like time is not measured regularly. I don't even know. It's one of those things that we're very abstract about on purpose, and like monsters can live an exceptionally long amount of time compared to the survivors. So what's come before, like it's okay for monsters to have history. It's not okay for the survivors to have any history.
Very cool. What else do I have on here? So we talked a little bit about philosophies.
Yeah.
And so when you get a philosophy, it's on a single survivor, right?
Yeah.
Can a survivor have multiple philosophies or just one?
Just one.
Okay. And then can multiple survivors have the same philosophy?
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Although depending on the particular philosophy, there's some like restrictions. Like the collectivism philosophy is kind of infectious.
Okay.
And that you'll see once you play what I mean by that. There's a chance that I don't want to spoil it, but
I just
one of the main concepts going into it is that like the way we're exploring how survivors think. And like how that develops and the crazy stuff that it leads them to do.
Okay.
To continue furthering their thought, and like us, we're trying to figure out our existence on this lovely blue marble.
Yeah.
Only when we're really busy and overworked do we stop thinking about that.
Yeah.
So as they're looking for meaning, the philosophies continue to expand.
Okay. What else? I know we have the scouts coming in, which.
Yep.
You kind of wrote a little bit about them. Is it still very similar to the original pitch where it could be a fifth player if you wanted to, or is it kind of just
It changed a lot. This was like one of the hardest things to work on. I thought it was going to be easy. It's just like, scout, they follow you, they bring your stuff home, no big deal. You get some gear, they can join the fight. And it didn't work like that at all. It was only until we were testing the encounter system and we started to put the scout in. And it was all of a sudden like this liability. Because if it died, that meant you had no lifeline during the showdown. Yeah. It just started to feel good, and we kept nerfing it more and more and more and more until you just have this garbage, debilitated character who can't really do much and can't carry any good weapons. Just you're hoping they don't get ranched. And I was like, okay, this is starting to feel good. So that's more of the direction we're going into now. Instead of them starting off the board when you hit the showdown. They're probably, I say probably because I feel like I'm going to have some arguments with my team before this goes through, but they're probably going to start on the board.
Okay.
So someone will have to be with the scout or control the scout. And until you invest in the gear that allows them to hide themselves and just watch the fight from further back, they're there.
Okay. And then we talked about encounter systems a little bit. I know you have a big update.
You got to build the cloak with all the faces on it so they can lay on the ground and pretend they're not there. How many founding stones are you going to spend on that?
The new tablecloth you have in the booth.
Yeah.
Whoosh. So the encounter system, I know you were talking about a big update next month, kind of talking about that more.
Not next month.
Or September?
So we're going to have a post-Gen Con update.
Okay.
And then we're going to have a encounter system update. I don't remember if I said next month or the next quarter.
September.
It might be September.
I think you said September. I'm not 100% sure.
I got to get back. It's so hard at being at Gen Con. Your brain gets so whitewashed. Anyway, I'll review my notes. But yeah, if it's September, that's fine.
That's what it's going to be. So I know you showed off.
That's right. End of September.
Yeah. Cool.
I remember finding it funny. I was like, end of September update. I'm like, why don't I just say August? Or why don't I just say
October?
Yeah, it's too late.
The smog
1
monster.
in the morning, whatever.
What's the new monster? The smog monster?
The smog stalkers?
Yeah, smog stalkers. So was the original pitch it's going to be on a smaller board, or is it still going to go on? When does the encounter? When are encounters going to happen?
During the hunt phase.
Okay.
Yeah.
And they're going to be on the showdown board or another board?
Another
or
board.
Another
So you'll have like the hunt board set up.
Yeah.
And then you'll hit an encounter. And like I think it'd be really cool. I don't know if it was like we're still testing it design wise.
Yeah.
Where you have the hunt board and then you have the encounter board. It's almost like the encounter starts. You just leave the hunt board and go on to the other board, which would be cool. So like where you're on the hunt table could influence where you potentially start on it. But then you get into the issue of, well, we don't want to make the encounter board another like long railroad.
Yeah.
So, but yeah.
Right. So this is all in the gambler's chest. So how? I know last time we talked, like the gambler chest was almost the size of a core box. Is it still like going to be like core box size kind of, or maybe?
It has as many sprues now.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, we'll see. You know, if it ends up being that big, I'll just throw in a lot of empty storage options.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering. You're gonna have a lot of cool storage options to kind of store all this new cool stuff, and
Well, not the models, of course.
yeah, but like the new booklets and
Yep.
everything else. So I know we're getting booklets for like how many philosophies do you have currently? Do you know like a number?
There's 10 that are in good space.
Okay.
And there might be a couple more.
Okay. So,
We've decided to tie philosophies to campaigns
okay.
and to wanderers.
All right.
So they're not tied specifically to monsters.
Okay. So the wanderers are going to be those like little, what's the word I want to use? The tie minis that you did with like Paizo and stuff like that, right?
But I'm hoping part of the reason I wanted to do the wanderers is so that future releases like this can be wanderers instead of things with like just a small amount of content.
Okay. We got that. Then we have the Campaigns of Death, which looks amazing.
It's super exciting.
I don't know if Matt got to see the.
Look at me, I'm like, it's super exciting.
If you got to see the Dung Beetle
Maybe end
Baron.
of Gen Con is not the right time to do this. The Campaigns of Death is in my opinion coming out awesome. Like it's putting together a meaningful layer to having, you know, multiple campaigns over and over and over again. Like, so imagine at the beginning of your stream, right? You've set up. I'm not sure what the tableau is going to be yet, but you set up the tableau, and it's basically like, okay, let's build our campaign. Yeah. And you would first pick one of the larger campaign cards, and say you got, you know, your favorite, People of the Lantern. People of the Lantern, and it's got just like, you know, empty spaces for the nodes. So then you would go to the node 1 deck where your node 1 monsters live, and you know, put the card down. Like, okay, look, it's the white line. Surprise, surprise. All right, let's move on to the node 2 deck, and you know, draw up. And let's say, you know, you guys play a lot, so you've unlocked some of the strange cards, and you flip it over, and you get the, like, you know, aggro antelope. You're like, aggro antelope, what the is this? And it just means that you're going to fight an antelope, and it's going to give you way less resources and be so much more difficult because of the strain you unlocked after you enjoyed the benefits of its bounty for too many years. And the system allows us that flexibility to play with what the survivors did to the ecology and what has happened in the world outside of their perspective that may then influence your next campaign. It also, and I think a lot of the fans will enjoy this, makes it so that the process of picking a campaign can be a lot more systematic. Yeah. So it's almost like the campaign generation becomes fun. And, you know, obviously you're going to write the rules so that if you want to pick something yourself, you can. Yeah. Or we're going to suggest that you always play with the strain cards that you just unlocked. Yeah. Otherwise, they could go into a deck. And we're talking a campaign length here. So it could be years before you finally get your friends together to see this thing that you unlocked, which is kind of ridiculous. Yeah. But it's super cool. It lets us play with the game rules and the campaign sort of set up in a way that I don't think I've seen in any other system so far. Okay. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know.
Not off the top of my head. I'm not sure.
No.
So some of the cool things was you have the Dung Beetle Baron.
Yep.
Which looks really amazing, and everyone's kind of noticed he kind of looks like the old master.
Yep.
Is he the same guy, or is he someone different, or we'll find out?
We'll find out.
Okay. And then one of my favorites is the Infant Sunstalker.
Yeah.
Is that going to kind of be?
So, you know what? The example I gave about the antelope was not even a good one. I should have used the Infant Sunstalker. Okay. So you hit your node 2 and you flip over Infant Sunstalker, and so now this means that you have the Sunstalker that can be hunted. I mean, it doesn't change the Sunstalker out.
Yeah.
It just gives you a version of it that's weaker that you can start hunting sooner. So if you have a campaign that is looking like it wants to be Sunstalker heavy, you have the opportunity to begin hunting it, this infant version of it sooner, if you pull the Node 2 card for it.
So is the infant Sunstalker going to have its own deck, or is it going to kind of go off the Sunstalker deck and be
Similar
basic and different
to the
traits?
Vignette.
Okay,
Yeah.
so it's going to have a couple of cards that just
And its own showdown page.
its own sort of damage. Okay, so it's going to be use the same core deck and have a couple extra traits or
Exactly.
a couple extra
Yeah.
AI cards.
Yeah.
All right, very cool. And then there was the vocal spidiculus. I just think the legless ball is everything I see, and I just like, is that just a statue for the innovation to be in your settlement, or?
So the vocal spidicules is I'm like, I guess I should have stood next to the case that had everything, because it's the easiest place for me to explain how excited I am about this new system. Because all right, so you had a settlement and you managed to bring the giant spider ball home,
Yeah.
right? And then this campaign came to its conclusion, and in this case, if they didn't kill the ball,
Yeah.
you would just kind of leave a spider with no ability to move, just there, right? Okay, so I was like, now let's fast forward by Kingdom Death Time, and a new group of survivors comes in, and they find this grumpy spidiculus just kind of stuck there. Maybe it's like slightly regrown a little bit of itself, or maybe it's severed limbs have become like knobs.
Yeah.
And they're like, hey, no other monsters are attacking here. Let's set up our town here. And so the vocal spidiculus ends up being their core monster.
Okay.
And
In this little protector of the area.
In this particular campaign, or this particular like exploration here, I call it vocal spidiculus because as it grows with the settlement, it learns their language.
Oh.
Yeah. In the year 20, when it finally figures out how to be mobile again, it finally gets its chance for revenge, which is a surprise to everyone who's probably like it sees this thing as a strange but endearing part of their culture.
Awesome. The last thing in the update was you're bringing the king back, which is really cool to see.
Yeah.
I know you guys did a lot of work on it. I know Barrett just told me a lot of work has gone into it. Are you planning on using a lot of the work already done, or are you going to kind of rehash it from scratch?
I don't know. Putting the king was unexpected even to me until I was like, I'm bringing the king back, which was, not a long-winded, premeditated plan whatsoever. It was more like working on the Gambler's Chest. We had lots of separate assets and separate little pieces of content that we were developing. And as they started to form, they kind of started to look more like puzzle pieces to me. And then I started to like put the puzzle pieces together. It's like, oh, well, the Gambler shouldn't just be a nemesis monster. It could be a core monster.
Yeah.
Right? And then, Atnus, who again was just like going to be this like holiday special crazy, like fight once, everyone have fun. I was like, Atnus, like is now exhibiting traits similar to the story that was kind of already beginning to be told with the Gambler. I know what I'm saying right now sounds like complete insanity and nonsense, but give me a second. I was like, so that actually kind of slots in strangely here. And then I was like, well, now that we have the Gambler acting, sort of like as a thing that's has a settlement around it, like what is it up to? And would the hand and the entities beyond that be cool with what it's doing? I was like, well, that gives me the excuse to take this secret version of the hand I was planning to surprise everyone with and put it in now. Okay. So like this story just sort of started to come together through a series of coincidences as it was all being worked on, and it just felt like it had to become like its own expansion.
Okay.
So to back up and explain why there's a similarity between Atnus and the Gambler as far as the potential overarching story goes, the way Atnus is introduced to your settlement, and this is not something I can take credit for, this is someone else on my team.
Okay.
They referenced a particular Japanese demon that will, according to the folklore, show up to your house, and it kicks off everyone's like venerable grandfather instincts. So you invite it in, you sit it down, and you feed it, you pour it drinks, and then it leaves, and everyone after it leaves, the like hormonal effect wears off, and everyone starts freaking out. They're like,
Yeah.
"Oh my god, what just happened to us?" And it's such a creepy image, and it seemed to fit Atlas so well.
Okay.
So there's like some serious like dad hormones going off
Okay.
here, right? And it just, I don't know, it started to came together. And like obviously I don't want to spoil anything, and I also don't want to put my foot in my mouth. So
Yeah.
that's about as vague as I can be,
No.
without saying too much.
All right. So that let's talk a little bit about Wave 4 then.
Okay.
I got just a couple things about. So with what is even if Wave 3, if anything's in there, do you have a favorite monster or AI deck that's something thematic that's just really thematic that you really enjoy out of the upcoming monsters, like that just stands out from the rest?
I mean, the Screaming God is insane. You guys got to see it last
Yeah.
year. Like, that was Wes's ambition. I was like, let's just have it make it run back and forth to the end of the board. That's what I want.
Yeah.
He's like, no, we can make this work. And it was so much work to get it going.
Yeah.
And towards the very end of it, like, right before we had to come to Gen Con and sort of shore up the demo, there's a lot of, like, there's a good 2 weeks of last-minute edits and cleanups and stuff to make it feel right. And that's when I realized that we had to make larger cards for the god-sized monsters.
Yeah.
Because we were trying to describe these really cool cinematic things that I wanted the monster to do, but it just didn't fit on the card.
Yeah.
It's like, if we made the card bigger, we can just have a picture of that. And
So
then
what
it's
size are
easier
the
to
god-sized
explain.
cards going to end up being?
Um,
Carrot size or more of the settlement event?
no, they're not that big. They're just a little bit longer and a little bit wider.
So like the bookmark card? Oops.
Oops.
Drop it.
No, the bookmark is huge.
Oh, bookmark is. Yeah, that's quite big.
Yeah. Like if this is the regular card,
Yeah.
then they're kind of like this,
Okay.
so that there's enough room for all the rules that we need, and then also artwork. And the
Yeah.
artwork is it's the additional layer of storytelling that we're missing, because we didn't want to just have like 2 paragraphs of text and then rules, which is kind of what all those cards are turning into. And like when you draw those cards, the very first time it's fun,
Yeah.
but then it becomes kind of tiresome. You know, instead we can just have the artwork, and you're like, oh my god, this is happening to you now.
And then,
Oh, and the encounter system also uses cards, and they're smaller than these.
okay.
Yeah, so
So a bunch
encounters
of new
get small
cards.
cards, monsters get the standard cards, and god class monsters get larger cards.
Okay.
Yeah, something sort of endearing about that, and simple.
And then, so we talked about like your favorite monster or like thematic. What about like any new fighting arts or disorders that are really cool that are upcoming that you?
I mean, the fighting arts have changed so much because of the philosophy system.
Yeah.
I know that last update for Black Friday, I sort of teased a little bit about that,
Yeah.
but like now, we had to take every single fighting art and basically break it into 3. And those 3 stages, it's not just like, though Mighty Strike is this way, Mighty
Yeah.
Strike 1, Mighty Strike 2, Mighty Strike 3. Some of the more complicated fighting arts, like I should call them knowledge cards now, like the knowledge that you gain from having a psychopath, which is a murderer,
Okay.
in your philosophy. It sort of has like a little bit of like a story to it, and the power and the ability of those evolving knowledge cards changes as you continue. You start with one and continue to rank it up and go on to the next. We also have some knowledge cards that start very strong but rank up really easily and then get crappier as you go. When a knowledge card ranks up, it replaces itself with the next one. So you have kind of like this much more living fighting art deck than you currently have, which is just like a static kind of like bonus box.
Yeah. And then I know we have 2 new areas we're going into with the Abyssal Woods and the Verdant Mountain.
Yep.
As we go into those areas, are we gonna get new hunt events for these areas?
Oh,
or-
yeah.
So they're gonna have their own hunt tables for them.
Yeah.
And then I know a lot of people are asking, are we gonna get like possibly a new showdown board that represents that area instead of the? You
I don't know.
don't know.
I don't know. The showdown board's kind of perfect. It's
Yeah.
hard for me to step away from that. So I don't know.
Yeah.
It's just will depend on how it feels once those are hitting heavy playtest.
So I know we got to fight the frog dog. This is where I'm gonna give you scope creep or something fun to think about. I was thinking about the FRT deck.
Yes, FRT deck. Very important.
Scratch and sniff.
Scratch and sniff.
Yeah. I think.
Well, it was Anna's genius of saying that she didn't want to describe the fart
Okay.
because you'll end up with kind of similar descriptions as you go through it.
Yeah.
That was what I was thinking. I was like, let's just draw a dump truck in New York City, and it's in front of an Indian restaurant. And there's curry all over the street, But she's like, no. First of all, that wouldn't even relate to the game, and we're not just making a gag deck. I was like, that's true, that's fair. She's like, I'm gonna describe what it's like to smell the fart.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, you're a genius. That's so good. But yeah, that would unfortunately the scratch and sniff would undermine that. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's okay. I thought it was a fun idea.
It is.
And then I know we're gonna get more Wave 4 updates. You said Black Friday, I believe.
Yeah.
What's going on?
Maybe sooner.
Maybe sooner.
But like, I have to focus now that I've like upped the ante, and I've been like, I'm gonna do all of this more stuff, and also I need another year, and your expectations, which were higher, now even higher.
So is the goal hopefully by Gen Con next year we have something in hand, or where are you thinking?
That would be delaying things by 6 months, unfortunately,
Okay.
because it takes about 6 months once we start production.
So you're saying about another year of
which is
development
kind of
time?
another like the sort of killing me points. Like, we started the Vignette of Death in January, and we just barely got it here in time.
Yeah.
I was just like, it's not.
So you're looking at
The
another-
political climate has kind of made like a lot of rippling effects throughout just manufacturing in general. Thankfully, our relationship with the plastic manufacturer, which doesn't need paper sourcing,
Yeah.
has been awesome. Like, I love those guys there. They've been so good to us. They got us Atlas. We delivered Atlas, and they got it to us in time to show at Gen Con. The thing that was in the case was the plastic production version. It wasn't a print, and it was not a resin cast. They got it to us in 6 days from when we
insane.
delivered the files. It was just like, yeah, you guys are the best. The paper side of it, though, the company is great, but they're struggling with a lot of other companies in China that they source paper from shutting down, having trouble, or going through. There's been a lot of environmental things that are happening.
Yeah.
And again, it's just like, I wouldn't say strange, but it's just difficult political climate,
Yeah.
right? I don't want to get into it more than that, but
Wow,
it has made it so that this stuff has had a much longer timeline.
Okay.
So my ambition would be that, yes, but I have to kind of take it like 90 days at a time.
Yeah. Last question I had was, now with like Gloomhaven coming out on digital stuff, are you interested in possibly partnering with someone to make a digital, official digital version, or you don't?
Not really.
Not really.
No, like, I hear rumors about people playing the game online.
Yeah.
I don't know how. It seems impossible. Like, I've never actually used Steam before.
Yeah.
So when they tell me things, I just like, I don't know
How
what
does
that
the internet
is.
work? I don't know.
No, officially speaking, I have
Yeah.
no idea how anyone would play this game online. But I'm just like still a little bit too presentation obsessed.
Yeah.
And when I am working with someone or a company where that sort of control goes out of my hands, it makes me feel very uncomfortable. And I don't know if it's just because I'm still babying things too much, or if it's because I want to do it myself.
Yeah.
But it doesn't matter either way because I have to do Wave 3 and then
Yeah.
Wave 4.
Yeah, you're
It's
busy
just
with
like,
stuff, I
okay,
know.
well, yeah. I'm not really interested in just handing a company the IP and being like, yeah, go ahead, make a digital version of it, because they wouldn't necessarily do it from the same perspective. Even
Yeah.
if it was exactly the same, it doesn't make sense to make the exact same experience, because this is an experience you play at the table. It's not
Yeah.
the appropriate experience for playing like online.
Yeah.
So again, like, I don't know.
Okay. Well, anything else you want to maybe hit on us? Tell us a little kind of something cool that's coming up, or that you might have not said it yet.
You might have to prompt me with more questions to get that out of me. Like, let's see. We talked about the Gambler's Chests, and we talked about Campaigns of Death, and about Wave 4.
Well, Chad's asking about the
That's a
Satan
good question.
survivors. And will be they a group of advanced survivors, or will they be from the people of the Satan campaign?
They'll be in the Satan campaign, so
Okay.
that's something I can say a little bit about. Thank you. You call them chat?
Yeah,
Your
Chat.
viewers?
All the viewers chat. Yeah,
Chat. Thank
when,
you,
when
chat.
something comes up in there, it's chat. So.
Okay, cool. So the Ivory Dragon,
Yeah.
which is turning out to be amazing and also way too large. I think this is the first time in KD history we're going to take Jack's original sculpture and probably shrink it a little bit for plastic production, because it's like approaching the too big to play with,
Yeah.
which is like sounds cool, but it's really not. You don't want to be like, all right, the monster moves. It's just like this too much.
It's ridiculous. Could do that a little bit
A
too.
little bit, but at least you get to pick him up out of the center.
Yeah.
His little legs shake around. But oh god, I'm trying to think. How can I say this without spoiling the whole idea of it? So it's been established that Satan is an entity that split itself into two.
Yeah.
Right. And now we sort of had this. It was like, it began as sort of a joke through the Kickstarter campaign, True Form Satan, right? Like, this is what it really looks like. And then we had like the True Form Satan backers, and I started to have to think more about the entity that we call Satan and what it's actually about,
Yeah.
and how it as an organism is unique. So if it can split itself into two, why can't it split itself into
More.
many?
Yeah.
Right. And another question came into mind is, what does this thing eat? Does it just eat people like a lot of monsters do? Just eat what's available? And then if we have these Satan starting survivors, again, this is where I'm like bordering really close to spoiler territory. I'm trying hard not to. What does that mean?
Yeah.
And I have the answer, and I think it's awesome. If people can read between the lines, they're welcome to.
Yeah.
But I don't want to get any more into that. What was the original question?
I don't even recall anymore.
Okay, I hope I answered it.
Yeah, hopefully.
I know my explanations can be long-winded, and then I forget the original question, and I'm sorry.
So
Apologize.
in your little discussion, it came up a question I was thinking of. We don't really see it much in the game right now, but do the monsters fight each other a lot? And is there a lot of death in that might be encountered in the future, possibly, of coming across fighting
Well,
monsters or something?
it took until Monster Hunter World for them to explore that. So let's just give it some time.
Give it some time. but in the world itself, that is something that does happen. And
Constantly exploring like the different ecologies and like
Yeah.
how they overlap and what
Yeah.
they start to do to each other.
so,
Yeah.
all right. What do we got? They're asking if strained fighting arts can be used on sculpture innovation.
Currently, the strain fighting arts that you get from these can absolutely be used in the sculpture innovation. Will sculpture change in the future as we keep, addressing things? And how does sculpture work with knowledge cards? Like, those are things that you'll have to wait and see.
Okay. Where's the Manhunter from? Is
The
it?
Holy Lands.
Yeah, Holy, yeah.
Yeah.
Gen Con, all your items are going to be in this store, right?
See, they're right. Like, will the Gen Con exclusives be available in the online sale? Yeah, we're gonna have a post Gen Con sale. We have inventory of everything. We're gonna get more T-shirts made, and I guess we should start printing out more of the prints too, because those seem to go very
I
well.
didn't even see them. So
Yeah. Oh, and Lockman is gonna be staying in New York for a few more days, so actually I can probably get him to sign
Oh, that would be amazing.
a stack of them.
That would be
Here you go.
What else are they asking for? And when's the sale going to go online? Probably in a couple weeks. It's your typical.
No, I think it
2
should be faster than that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know you guys normally recover this week or this upcoming week, and then
Yeah,
after
it should
that
be
it goes
faster
up.
than that.
Okay.
Well, not again because I didn't mention it during this interview, but I mentioned it to you personally. I have hired someone that I am delegating things to, so
Yes.
I can, stop trying to focus on everything at once and focus on what I need to and only the things that I can do. So I would need to speak to him and my team about when the sale should be going up, but I don't see a reason why there'd be that much of a delay.
Okay. And then they're asking plastic production for Wave 3. Is that pretty much done?
A lot of it's done. Like here at Gen Con today, all the narrative sculptures are finished with the exception of Nightmare Adam because it's really hard for me to finish that one. The Crimson Crocodile needs to be finished. There's a few things that we want to adjust and tweak on it, not major stuff, and then put into plastic. And then in the Campaigns of Death, we've already started the engineering on the Beetle Baron. We need to do the engineering on the Vocal Spidiculus. I said ridiculous, spidiculous. I know that's not how it's spelled. I know everyone understands, but it's spelled spidicules. That's okay. Spidicules is a fine name too. And then the narrative armor kits for that need to be finalized to a state that I can show you guys, and those need to be engineered too. But yeah, wave 3 like engineering and plastic is extremely far along. I also had to deal with not a hard conversation but a disappointing conversation with the factory owner when he told me that all of the plastic that we have cut for the Gamblers chest so far, production's finished. When can I ship this to the paper factory? And I was like, actually, I'm delaying things by a year. And he's like, this takes up a lot of space on my factory floor, right? We're talking 25,000 copies of this times all of the sprues equals a lot of space. Currently, there's, I don't know, like 18 sprues and a few more coming. So, it's a typical size, the 6x8. I was like, well, let me know how much it'll be to rent a warehouse for them temporarily, because they have to wait.
Pause here for a second. It looks like the broadcast just died. I'm trying to get it back online now.
This is a common.
Sometimes we can still talk. It's still being recorded, and people have to just catch this a little bit on the video on demand, and it's a little extra bit. So let's talk about something I know you love.
Okay.
Let's talk about the Titan Bee.
The Titan Bee? Yeah. Titan Bee's looking awesome.
So what makes you love the Titan Bee so much?
It's just more of a visual thing.
The visual thing? Okay.
It looks just, I don't know, it just looks adorable.
It does look adorable. So have you started development on that at all a little bit?
A little bit, yeah.
Okay. Is that, since you love it so much, is that something you're going to kind of hold to your chest, or you're going to give that to the team that kind of, once you have an idea for it, and let them develop it?
I don't know. Again, like, my focus is continuing to be wave 3. I know it's like a slight bummer to hear, maybe, because like we want to talk about like notes of all this cool stuff coming up, but it's just like, no, no, these must wait. Like, stop tempting me. like Titan Bee, you have to wait. It's like I'm sure people, not myself, but have maybe ended up in situations where they're like waiting to start a relationship, probably when they're teenagers or something, because they're gonna move state. It's just like, I have to just wait, another year or another few months. We'll see.
So Chad's asking, how do 5-year campaigns work? Are they gonna just, do you start with souped up survivors, or are they just gonna be?
That's the beauty of the 5-year campaigns, is they can be different.
Yeah.
So Grindhouse starts at the beginning and is very much a souped-up campaign, while the other 5-year campaign kind of starts somewhere in the middle.
Okay.
And then like has a story that ends.
Okay. What else we have? They're asking. Oh, we talked about that a little bit already. Have you decided which monsters?
Will we be able to use all of these new systems in all campaigns? For instance, an advanced KDM People of the Lantern campaign. Yeah, we talked about that. That's much more of a thematic, appropriate story. And, the first version of that will probably be a Strain campaign card that has the Watcher as the core and just allows you to have blank spaces for the other things. So maybe the Watcher won't be the core monster in that. It'll be the Gambler, but you could still be like, I'll take a Lion and an Antelope and a Phoenix.
They're asking about the Gambler's Chest campaign. Is there a set list of monsters, the core monsters, or that you have set for that, or is it going to kind of be, you can use your node system to kind of build that?
I think the first campaign I'll build will be a set list.
Okay.
And then they'll probably have a light version of the Strain system that allows you to have like those empty spaces, but the full Strain system will be in Campaigns of Death. So they overlap a little bit there.
All right. They're asking, a good question about cooking. So with all the different node monsters and cooking kind of requiring certain monsters, is there going to be an overhaul to the whole cooking thing, or?
Pattern cards.
Okay.
that's our solution.
Okay.
So like with cooking, and we want to have like certain recipes, be it for gear or for like food. If
Yeah.
it's cooking, we'll handle it with a pattern system. And pattern system, when you're looking at when you're setting up your campaign with a strain system, the last thing you do after everything is set is you go through the synergy deck.
Yeah.
And anytime there, the synergy deck will say like, oh, you have a lion knight and a dung beetle knight. Okay, well then add this pattern card to your campaign, or add this innovation to your campaign, or add this knowledge card to your campaign, or add this philosophy to your campaign.
Okay.
And that allows us to continue to like creatively explore. And like I wanted to set up this layer of the game system and this layer of Kingdom Death so that we had as much ability to continue organically exploring the way that the game content can be as possible.
Do all Node 1 monsters have a prologue now, or is it just going to be the White Lion and the Crimson Croc?
Currently, it's the White Lion and the Crimson Croc. I saw in Campaigns of Death making a prologue for the Gorm, like it's on the table.
Yeah.
But like there's so many more important things before that, so
Yeah.
I'm not 100% sure.
Any news on Devil Sunderman?
Beyond that it exists, I don't remember. What are you talking about?
Does the Gambler Chest or COD come with any variants like Seven Swordsmen or anything like that?
So Seven Swordsman, like if I were to do it, say after Wave 3 hit,
Yeah.
that would be a campaign card.
Okay.
And that would be, potentially something that you gain access to from an unlock in the Strand milestones.
Okay.
Or it would be something that you could pick up and play, and then it would give you, a Strain fighting art. So the whole idea of variance, I'm trying to like bring back into the game system as a whole, so that the experience of playing Kingdom Death can be, I want to pick one of the campaign cards that I'm familiar with and that I know my friends and I will have fun with, or we can kind of just let the system go and be complete victims to it. It's just like, and the excitement of like not even knowing what your next campaign is going to be, or
Yeah.
how you might totally F it up before it starts, is good. And I was like, yes, this is the right direction.
What's the last one? They're asking if possible gear packs will allow up to 4 gear items instead of the 3 you typically do. Or, I know for us, Monster Grease and like Rawhide are like the ones we sometimes build 4 of, but otherwise the 3 typically works.
I don't know. It's one of those things where I know you can have up to 4.
Yeah.
How often does it come up, and how much it increases the cost is
Yeah.
just like insane. That was the reason that we made it so it was 3 instead of 4 to begin with. It's one of those things where, yeah, sure, I could make myself sound good right now and say, yeah, we'll release a pack that has an additional 1 of all the cards,
Yeah.
but it also feels kind of like a little bit just like not a good use of development resources or
Yeah.
production time. And I don't know. I don't really have a great answer to that question. I'm sorry for whoever asked it. It's a good question, and it's one of those things that would bother me as a gamer, I think, because of this feeling of like lack of completion.
Yeah.
But it's also so rare that you do have 4. To solve that would just be so much paper,
Yeah.
right?
Any new principles?
I would never reveal that.
Yeah.
Never, ever in a million years. Sorry.
So we'll find out.
Yeah.
Anything else from chat, Matt?
Cool.
Hopefully everyone at home's happy. If not, they'll yell at me later.
So yell at you later.
Why didn't you ask this question that I asked you to ask? Okay, I have one of the questions from our sheet from before.
Okay.
Do you prefer mayo or ketchup on your French fries? Because this is what chat asks me.
That's fair. It's definitely ketchup.
Definitely ketchup.
Yep. I understand that some people like mayo. Every now and then I will indulge in mayo, but I'm never excitedly rushing to the fridge to get the jar of the Hellman's mayonnaise out when my French fries arrive with a burger that, again, I'm probably treating myself to. Because I don't want to deal with the ketchup packets. Right.
This is what happens when you feel source questions to the internet. and
It's
then they're
fine.
like-
These are legitimate and very important questions.
No, thank you, Adam, for taking the time out.
Yeah, thanks for
I
having
know
me,
you have to get back
guys.
to the booth and help pack up and.
Do
get out of
I?
here.
I'm the boss, right?
Yeah,
Can't I
that's
just
true.
kind of like
Good.
not?
No one can yell at you.
No.
I'll just give you some looks.
No, but yeah. I think we're getting to a point where they might not need me, which is cool.
Yeah. Oh,
Because then I can be more for, everybody. in a
and
way.
you guys got what, like 30 people on the team now?
In total, it's almost hard to remember a number offhand.
Yeah.
But last year, after doing our taxes, looked up and said to me, "Do you know that we paid 42 people this year for business purposes?
Yeah.
And those are 42 people that you managed and work with directly." I was like, I managed 42 people last year? Like, that's disgusting. This is going to change. Like, I need to be, almost alone,
Yeah.
like with the door to reality shut and the door to Kingdom Death open.
Yeah.
That's where I need to be, not managing 42 people. Well, what am I doing?
Yeah, that's not including all the factories and all that and getting them the.
No, it's
do
not.
everything.
It's not including the vendors and all that stuff. And whenever there's an issue with that, it's always like, hold on, let's get Adam, let him talk to them. And then everything's suddenly all smoothed over. But yeah, definitely getting someone that I can delegate more things to has been hopefully the best decision that we've made so far.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining. Thanks everyone for watching.
Thank you guys. Thanks for playing. Let me just say, I'm going to try to summon the last bit of energy I have towards the end of this long week and just really thank everyone for enjoying the game and for playing it and for supporting us and also having patience with myself and the team as we continue to make things like this. Continues to be very much a passion project, and it's almost become part of a crutch, which is not good to me. Just say like, no, I'm selfish. I have to do it my way. This is my game. But I know that it still is very much all of our game, and it's all of our experience. And until I learn how to deliver us a better experience without just taking it all and internalizing it, it has to be this way. I'm sorry. But thank you. I really appreciate it. And please continue sending me all of your money. I will put it to good use. Just kidding. Just continue enjoying it. I know there can be a lot of pressure when the sales go up, and I know there can be a lot of pressure, especially here at Gen Con when we first get here and we have a massive line because people are worried about missing an opportunity to buy something.
You guys did a good job this time. Nothing really, besides some shirts and some art prints. That were
nothing
limited.
really sold out. But we continue to try to meet the demand and your sales expectations whenever we can. There's just a certain reality to certain production methods that don't allow us to do it any faster without sacrificing the quality that we want to maintain. And so long as we can all be in concert that the quality is the most important part, I think that it'll still all be okay. But thank you. And thank you guys for having me.
Thank you for coming on.
Appreciate
Everyone, thanks for watching. That's not concluding our Gen Con coverage. We have one more stream tonight. We're playing Lander at 8 p.m. Because Matt and I hate ourselves and just want to keep streaming forever from Gen Con. So tune in for that. But thank you, and good night, everyone.
Thank you so much.